we on into return now to matters nautical. To mark the sinking of Henry VIII's great flagship 500 years ago, the Mary Rose, the versatile Alexander Lestrange has written a brand new work.
The Mary Rose, the pride and joy of King Henry VIII. Launched in 1511, this impressive warship fought furiously against the French for more than 30 years. But just as her sister ship, the Peter Pomegranate, was forgotten, would we have heard of the Mary Rose today were it not for the tragic events of July the 19th, 1545?
Well, those tragic events are now at least celebrated in music. Ahoy, sing for the Mary Rose. Alexander Lestrange is the man who has created it, and indeed, I know he arranges things very nicely because his Let's Misbehave was sung very entertainingly live in the studio by the King's Singers last Friday, so you move in very many different circles, don't you?
Indeed, it's one of the things I've always loved is writing for amateurs, children's choirs, groups like the King's Singers and the Swingle Singers. I think I've got the best job in the world.
Yeah. Well, tell us about this, because you're faultless. You never appear with children and animals, and certainly in your Ahoy, sing for the Mary Rose, you've got a raft of children, haven't you?
Raft's a good word, yes. On Monday in the Portsmouth Guildhall, we're going to have about 400 children on stage and a huge adult choir. And we've got local primary schools. What I did in my African piece, Zimbe, was to try and link choral societies, because there are hundreds of choral societies in this country, and they're brilliant, doing sterling work, but they often struggle to get an audience beyond their kind of core, you know, husbands and daughters and uncles and aunts. And I thought, why not combine local primary schools with adult community choirs and choral societies? So I did that in Zimbe 4 years ago, and that's taken off all around the world now. We've had over 100 performances, which is great.
And all the people I knew who performed in that really were longing to perform in this new piece, weren't they?
Absolutely. And lots of people said, hey, we love what you've done for African gospel music, Alexander, but what can you do for British music, something from our heritage? So when I got the call from Portsmouth Grammar School and the Portsmouth Festivities and the Mary Rose Museum, saying, what about something to celebrate the fact that the new Mary Rose Museum is open? You can now walk in to half of the Mary Rose ship. You can touch things, you can interact with things, you can see all the lovely artefacts.
And in fact, we know a great deal, therefore, about sort of life on the Tudor waves, because, and we wouldn't have known probably unless the Mary Rose had so tragically sunk.
Exactly, because of all those artefacts, things like the knit combs and the shoes and the musical instruments. We've got the earliest
Do you
ever...
have knit combs in your score?
Yes, a musical knit comb, that would be good, wouldn't it? But what I have done is I've taken music from that period. I've always loved Tudor music, but I thought, why not introduce children to the classics? Greensleeves, Pastime with Good Company, those kind of things, but combine them with sea shanties and folk songs about the sea and original music. I've set Shakespeare's Full Fathom Five, for example, and I've turned it into a 40-minute kind of community choral work. So we've got Unison Primary School children, in this case taken from local Portsmouth primary schools, including the Mary Rose Special Needs School. We've got teenagers from Portsmouth Grammar School, and then an adult choral society from Portsmouth, and they all come together and basically celebrate the life and the fall, I suppose, what do you call it, rise and
the
fall,
resurrection
the sinking
again,
and the resurrection of the Mary Rose.
Well, I mean, are you choreographing this, or is it simply a concert?
It's going to be a choral extravaganza. On the stage is going to be full. We've got my band as well, with fiddle, accordion, piano, bass and drums. All these children, as I say, hundreds of them, and a huge choir. And we've got Hugh Dennis, actually, the comedian who's narrating and presenting, you know, from start of the week and not the week, rather. That's the wrong end of the week.
Yes, as long as you tell him to keep his tongue away from the inside of his cheek, he's sure he'll make some sort of caustic comments. No, that's great. I mean, this sounds like great fun, and does that mean you've got to think very seriously about mixed abilities when you're writing? Because there's no danger that you can be too simplistic, that the people then don't feel they're doing something worthwhile.
I know what you mean about simplistic, but no, a great tune sung in unison by hundreds of children. I'm talking children as young as 6 and 7 and 8. I mean, my own children, 7 and 5, they've sung Zimbe, and they've actually sneaked themselves onto the CD of Ahoy as well, I'm glad to say. And I think it's crucial to give children of that age, particularly year 3 and 4 at primary school, they've got such potential. They can really sing beautifully, and they're so enthusiastic. So actually, for them to sing, what shall we do with a drunken sailor, or shave his belly with a rusty razor, but to have a choral society behind them, singing with them, interacting, call them response, harmonies, you know, I don't think it's simplistic, and I think it's really exciting.
That's great. Are we getting enough of this in schools? I mean, looking around, you've tapped, obviously, a lot of enthusiasm. Do you think we should be doing more throughout the country?
I personally do, and I think it's crucial to get primary schools involved with the community. There was something called Sing Up that Howard Goodall was the ambassador for a while, and I've done a lot of work for them arranging. I think it's great to give primary schools the resources. There are so few trained musicians, music teachers in state primary schools. So what I've done with Zimbe and Ahoy is to give them the resources. They've got backing tracks, PDF files they can just view on the interactive whiteboard. So the children can learn these things by ear, and also the teachers don't need to be brilliant at playing the piano and singing loads of things. They can learn it as the children learn it, but then get together, say, with a local school, maybe an independent school, or with a choral society and a band or a music quintet.
Good. But just looking at the children, what do you think they've got out of this, particularly the children?
Well, obviously haven't had the premiere yet of Ahoy, but with Zimbe, we had, for example, we had a massive performance in Winchester Cathedral last year with 500 children on stage, and they made a film about it, which is on YouTube. It's lovely. And I spoke to a lot of the children, and they were just blown away by the scale of it, the building. I mean, we're going to be in a huge building in Portsmouth next Monday, the Portsmouth Guildhall. But Winchester Cathedral, hundreds and hundreds of children, and the sound of a professional band playing with jazz musicians in it, top guys, and also just great tunes. These children will always know Pastime with Good Company, and What Shall We Do with a Drunken Sailor, and Green Sleeves, and many others. The Water is Wide, and all these lovely folk songs. Okay,
more of this, please. We're going to appoint you a roving ambassador. You may move on from Portsmouth after you've done this, Alexander. Well, we've got a lot of them here from Portsmouth Grammar School, from the Castle Primary School, St Jude, St George's, Wrights Hill Prep. We've got the Call Me Al Quintet.
That's my guys,
your guys, and the Ahoy Singers, and Sam's Gone Away, so this one everybody will know as well.
Well, it's a great old sea shanty. I was doing some research on YouTube, and I found this tattooed man from Canada. He looked like a sailor or a salty sea dog of some sort, Sean. And he basically recorded all of these sea shanties that were written down by Stan Hugill in the 1950s, some of which dated back to the 19th century and beyond. And this song, Sam's Gone Away Aboard a Man of War, was one of the ones that just struck me, and I thought this should be the opening number in Ahoy. So I've changed it to Sam's Gone Away Aboard the Mary Rose.
there's real joy in that, isn't there? What a great idea to call those young people together with the adults to call me Content Ahoy singers and all those people from Portsmouth. Alexander Lestrange's Ahoy sing for the Mary Rose, and the whole thing, the world premiere, the 40-minute work, is on Monday, 24th of June, Portsmouth Community Choir, Festival Choir and the Children, narrated by Hugh Dennis as part of Portsmouth festivities. And the Mary Rose, Henry VIII's flagship, restored, is now opened for perusal. And Alexander's wife, Joanna, Forbes Lestrange, kept them all together.